Baik.
Ale Mariusz mówi, że stójkę normalnie robi. Może ćwiczek stójkę, nie? Balenie. A co, czego tam nie masz w tym balenie?
A, jest za mała.
Sorry.
Schön, ne?
You have any more famous? Stop there. Wait for it. Okay. Bye.
BBC.
Sorry? It's 9 now. Which way can we go? 9 and Show me, man. The lighting right because we only get to do this once. Yes. Here we go. Right. Now I can put these in my bag.
It's working quite well.
I mean, this morning.
Thanks.
You can't do this here.
I thought he was going to guess.
They're living for big things. Yeah, I remember that. That was it. 1986. Swami Narayan Day.
How was the traffic?
Most merciful brothers and sisters, also our guests for today, whom will be addressing this audience in the next few minutes or so. However, I'd like to kick off the proceedings.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق.
My friends, we have a list of eminent speakers and wonderful guests with us today. And because it's the temperatures in the hall don't allow for me to take too long, I will without further ado present our first guest. One of my memories as an 11-year-old watching the Olympic Games of Moscow was the sight of Seb Coe crossing the line, having won gold for Britain. And again in Los Angeles in 1984. In fact, for a very brief period I have to say that he inspired me to run. I didn't get that far, however, though, I am sorry to say. But it gives me today immense pleasure and privilege to present to you Lord Seb Coe, the head of London 2012. Lord Coe.
Anas, can I first of all thank you for your very warm words of welcome and telling me that at the age of 11 you watched me race makes me feel suddenly very old. Can I say how delighted I am to be joined by the Mayor, Ken Livingstone, who played such an instrumental part in helping us secure this time last year the right to host the Games, and Dr. Bari, who has just joined the organising committee of the London Olympic Games for 2012. They will both be making a huge contribution in the delivery of the project. 1 year ago, give or take a few hours, we heard from the IOC in Singapore that we were to be entrusted with the opportunity, the chance to present to the world in 6 years' time the Olympic Games. I think that the International Olympic Committee trusted us to take this project ahead for a number of reasons. I think firstly we presented to them a vision about how an Olympic Games should be used, not just for 6 weeks of glorious, exciting sport, although that is important, but because we recognised that it was the chance to use it as a bridgehead into so many other issues and day-to-day concerns that we deal with as a community on a daily basis. I am absolutely convinced, though, that one of the reasons, a very strong reason why we were given the go-ahead with this project was the way we were able to explain and portray ourselves as a people living in London and more broadly through the United Kingdom. And the words we used were very similar to the words a few moments ago. We explained to the International Olympic Committee that London was a creative, diverse, tolerant community. We explained that this was not just a project for 6 weeks, but a project for 50 years. We explained that we have the golden opportunity, never afforded to any of us before, to use this project to access so many different areas of our life. I also know that over the next 6 years, we can galvanize the interests of young people across the board in whatever community and whatever faith they represent and live in a way that has never been afforded us before. In the 4 Olympic boroughs of London, in Hackney, in Tower Hamlets, in Newham, in Waltham Forest, we want to be relevant to all those boroughs and to every one of those communities. We also said something else which was very important, and that was that if we were given the opportunity to progress the project, we could start and we should start work the following day, and we've done that. In the first year, we have hit many milestones, some of them reached earlier than any other city has reached them before. And that is in great part due to the work of many of you in your communities, to my team, to the political structures in London, and to the ongoing demand and issue for us to communicate the project, the length and breadth of this country. And that over the next 6 years is what we will do. And I will thank you today for the support we have received in all your communities. I know I will thank you for the support we will receive over the next 6 years. But the real challenge for us is what we do with this over the next 50 years. And I know that with your support and the support of groups, the length and breadth of this country, we can achieve that. 2 hours ago, we set off a bus, heavily branded, heavily logoed, and that bus will travel 3,000 miles over the next 3 weeks. It will visit 52 different cities, towns, communities, venues. And the message in every one of those visits is clear and unambiguous. The Olympic Games is for everybody. And we can present the Games to the world in 2012 and showcase the very best of this city and all our communities. I'm grateful for your support. Join us on that journey. It will be exciting, at times challenging, but the prize at the end is enormous. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Lord Cohen. I have to say on his behalf and on behalf of this team that due to his restricted diary, he has to leave us. But thank you very much for being with us today. And indeed, 1 year ago to the day, it was announced that London was going to host the Olympic Games in 2012. And I look forward to seeing amongst our young today the athletes that will compete with the best and the finest around the world in London in 2012. We also come here having organized this event, having started to think about this event and consider it more than 3 years ago, a day when I remember well. I headed a team of 5, representing at the time the Muslim Association of Britain, and went to see the mayor of our capital city. And we spoke regarding a few issues, and high amongst those issues was an idea that we had at the time. And that idea we termed Islam Expo. I have to say that for a project this gigantic, our volunteers, the last count I understand, go beyond 200 people. It took the Mayor of London all but 2 minutes to say absolutely yes. It gives me great pleasure, privilege and honour to present to you the Mayor of our capital city, the Mayor of London, Mr. Ken Livingstone.
Thanks, Anas. Can I formally and officially welcome Islam Expo to London as Mayor and say it took 3 years of very hard work. I'd tempt to say, should we do it every year? And that might stretch us all a bit. But we also have many other things we are doing, and many of you that I see in the audience, I have seen at the annual reception for Eid that we hold at City Hall, and you'll know it's my intention to move that reception from the small confines of City Hall into Trafalgar Square, and it should become the basis each year of a whole weekend of events that celebrate the contribution of Islam to the origins of this city and to so much of British culture. Tariq Ramadan, Dr. Ramadan, writing in The Independent today, challenged the way people are rewriting history to suggest that Islam had made no contribution to the cultures of the West, that these are now defined solely in terms of the Judeo-Christian tradition, the Greco-Roman tradition, and this is a complete fantasy. Islam made a huge impact then on what were very primitive and backward societies of Europe. Those societies stood in awe of the contribution of art and science and culture that came with the great flowering of Islam over 1,000 years ago and for many hundred years that followed. So much that we take for granted and so many of our children would assume is solely a product of the culture of these islands, in actual fact is something we begged, borrowed or stole from Islam. And we need to make certain in events like this, in the events that will become a regular feature of our life in London, in Trafalgar Square, that Londoners understand the true diversity of all the cultures that have helped to make this a great city and a truly wonderful population. 20 years I was here to celebrate another faith. One of the last grants we got out of the Greater London Council before we were so cruelly abolished was to help have here a major exposition of the history and contribution of the Hindu peoples of the world. And it was led by the current Swami Narayan, who is still alive. And out of that grew the amazing temple at Neasden. And while I was sitting up there on the platform, I thought, in 20 years' time, what will have changed in London that we can say grew out of that Islam Expo 20 years ago? We can't even begin to understand what the long-term legacy of this event will be, but we need to make sure we secure it. Seb talked about the Olympics, and it was actually the fairness and integrity of the Muslim woman, the first Muslim Nawal, the first Muslim woman in the world to win a gold medal in track events at the Olympics, who chaired the committee that investigated the bids of the 5 cities, and it was the objectivity of her report that helped us to win, as well as becoming a firm friend, and we look forward to welcoming her in 6 years' time as an honoured guest when these games open. But we also recognised that we won those games because we didn't run, and to win that bid as London or as the English capital, we ran saying, "This is the city gathered in one world." After we'd done our presentation, and some of you may have seen the video clips that we used, Seb and I went out to answer questions while the next team, Madrid, was doing their presentation. One of the first questions from a journalist was, why were there so many foreigners in your presentation and in your film? And fortunately Seb took the question, otherwise I would have been referred to the Standards Board for being rude to a reporter again. But that is what London is. A third of the people in this city were born in a foreign country. 40% of the people in this city are from an ethnic minority. There are many smaller cities around the world in which a minority is very large or even narrowly a majority in that city. But we are the first of the great world cities to stand on the edge of becoming truly a multicultural city, in the sense that all faiths, all races, all nationalities are gathered here. And what we said to the IOC was, this is a city that works. This is not a city where civilizations clash. It is a city where different civilizations live side by side in respect and tolerance, and London is immeasurably strengthened by that. It is important to say this, because there are those who wish to divide the world. Some do it by acts of violence, others do it by massing vast armies to invade and control lands that aren't theirs. I see no future for either of those groups. The world's future isn't based on individual acts of violence or great nations invading others in order to seize and control their resources. It must be based on mutual respect, a respect for independence, a respect for different cultures, and a recognition we ourselves do best when we keep open minds open to different ideas and different faiths. We will be having a conference shortly to challenge those who argue there is an inevitable clash of civilizations coming. To them, I would simply say, come to London and see a world in which civilizations don't clash, but they work together to strengthen us all and to lay the foundation for a world that can be built on peace and tolerance and progress for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Livingston. We also come today a year on from a tragedy that struck us all. From the time that 50 people were killed as a result of a brutal attack, an attack that has no relation or identification to religion or faith or dogma. Since then, I think we can all agree that the Muslim community has had a fairly difficult ride. However, it's a ride that I think we have emerged from as a society stronger, closer to each other, more understanding and appreciative of one another. And Islam Expo, having been arranged before those merciless bombings, coincides tomorrow with the first anniversary of the London bombings. And Islam Expo tomorrow will be commemorating the anniversary of the London bombings, and the Friday prayer said tomorrow will highlight and emphasize the lessons learned from this particular issue. Leading the Muslim community, heading the discourse produced by the Muslim community in Britain, was the umbrella organization of Muslim organizations and Muslim communities that make up the Muslim community of Britain. It gives me great pleasure and privilege to present to you the General Secretary of the Muslim Council of Britain, Dr. Abdul Bari.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Mayor, brothers, sisters, ladies, gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thanks, Anas. I think I'm humbled to be here in this opening of Islam Expo. So many things have been done over the past many months, and so many people have been asking about this Islam Expo. And here we are, alhamdulillah, by the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we are now in the beginning of these 4 days wonderful community celebration, as Anas has mentioned. It must be a major contribution to the society, inshallah, in which we live, and one that I hope many will view and appreciate in the wider society. We hope it touches lives of the British public, Muslims, and those of other persuasions in our drive to achieve harmony and cohesiveness and celebrate the diversity in this great country. It's our duty to ensure that we all excel and what we do our bit to understand who we are as Muslims and as representatives of the ideals of Islam. We at the Muslim Council of Britain hope that, inshallah, this important project will show that the Muslim community is not a backward-looking community. It's not an immigrant community anymore, nor is it the cause of many problems, as some people want that it is. We hope that this project will show the importance of communities being part of the solution, one garnered from the rich and vibrant Islamic civilizations and their contributions from all fields of knowledge, as Ken has mentioned. We hope that it dispels the notions of a difficult and turbulent relationship between Islam and Europe and exhibits something, the spirit of convivencia and excellence and exchange that illuminated the coexistence of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism in Andalusia a few hundred years ago. Islam Expo is about ordinary Muslims doing extraordinary job, doing something that is practical, bridge building to combat negative stereotypes about Muslims and Islam. By reaching out to the young and the old alike, we can ensure that the seeds of Islamophobia, xenophobia, racism, anti-Semitism are never given the opportunity to take root in this great country. We encourage you all to participate and contribute to this groundbreaking event, and also to the work of the Muslim Council of Britain, which seeks to be a body that represents the interests of all Muslims in Britain. We not only fight for the Muslim corner, our motto is working for the common good. Most of the national, regional, and professional Muslim organizations in the UK are affiliated to the MCB, including Muslim Association of Britain. These include national women's organizations, youth, students, doctors, lawyers, charities, mosque-based organizations, and regional coalitions like those in the Southeast, in the Midland, Leicestershire, and Lancashire, and also in Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales. We also work together and consult with organizations that aren't affiliated with the MCB in a spirit of cooperation and coordination in the interests of this common good. More than the mere numbers, however, the Council brings together under its umbrella all the various shades and diversities in the British Muslim spectrum, from color to the country of origin, from religious particularities to political preferences. It's not a monolith of a mono-view organization. The way Muslim community is the community of the communities. While constituent organizations are free to pursue their perspective, even mutually exclusive particularities, the MCB itself is premised on consensus as a common denominator. This has helped not only to progressively expand the area of consensus, but also to create a unity of vision and a unity of action. The future of the British Muslim community is bound up very closely with the state of our society as a whole. We can only be a strong and a purposeful, vigorous community if the wider society is stable and strong. This is why the MCB has always stressed the need for all Muslims, in concert with others, to work for the common good, as I mentioned, of the society as a whole. An event such as Islam Expo complements this vision perfectly, and inshallah, we pray that the Islam Expo team and its array of formidable contributions every success for the next 4 days. We are having a, inshallah, challenging period ahead, but what we say, Islam asks to turn these challenges into opportunities. So it's not a coincidence that this Islam Expo is happening in this month, in this period, only to show that we are ready to take the challenges head on, inshallah, and turn whatever challenges we have into opportunities. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, Dr. Bari. Islam Expo 2006, my friends, is a celebration of Muslim talents. Islam is not single-dimensional. It's not only about politics and political events, although that may be at the heart of Muslims' concerns. Muslims are multi-talented, they are skillful. And throughout the next 4 days, we shall present to you those skills. We shall present to you performers, singers, artists, calligraphers, playwrights, actors, and the like. In fact, a week ago, a wonderful lady from the Independent on Sunday called me and said, I think there's something wrong. There's a typo error in your program on the internet because it says you will be presenting Muslim stand-up comedians. And I said, believe me, there is no error. There will be Muslim stand-up comedians, and there will be. But now it gives me great honor and pleasure to present to you a beacon and an icon of British Muslims. Someone who is known worldwide, possibly by his former name, possibly by his current name. Please welcome, formerly known as Cat Stevens' brother, Yusuf Islam.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to God. And peace be with you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam ajma'in. Just speaking to Ken right now, and he obviously has to slip away at some point, and he's one of the most obviously busy men in this town. I happen to be getting pretty busy myself these days, picking up the guitar again has brought an awful lot of interest back upon me, and it's interesting because talking and listening to Ken talking about the link and the linking of civilizations and how much Islam has contributed, it was very recently that I found out that the guitar itself was in fact introduced to Europe through Muslim Spain. We only have to go back to the glorious days of Dad, Rashid Harun Rashid, and we'll see that indeed there, even at the time of Mahmadi, there was guitars, and one of the most famous musicians was sent. This is all I've learned, by the way, from Professor Salim on his 1001 Inventions. Fantastic resource for us all. But one fantastic and talented genius of a musician and a scientist called Ziryab left Baghdad and went to Spain. And he brought the lute, the oud rather, which became the lute, which became the guitar. He brought knives and forks, tablecloths, fashion, so much, which eventually, flowed into the picture and color of civilization that we know today in Europe. So this is wonderful. Great news for me, because it means that I can pick up the guitar and know that at least there is some connection, not just with my past, but with my future. And that is wonderful for me. This shouldn't be an advertisement. It's not meant to be a commercial break, by the way, but I just had to explain that because it links so many things I want to say. The most important thing about, I think, this event is the event itself, and I really congratulate all those who have taken the deliberate step to make this happen. I really, commend you for your bravery and your energy in doing this mammoth event. I think it's a wonderful thing. It is an object. The objective, of course, is to spread the true picture of Islam, and, as has been said before, there are many beautiful angles to that picture, and we all, represent some color and some feature of that picture. As well as that, the Quran, when I finally came to find out, didn't just talk about Muslims, it talked about mankind. And so who is better today, I think, in religious terms, to talk about the tolerance of religion than Muslims. But unfortunately, many of us have slipped up somewhere and have lost that wonderful role, the role which the Prophet ﷺ taught. He was not against any religion, but he was for all who worshipped the one God and the source of all religious truth and reality. So I'm really happy that this organization and those who are behind this organization have taken this step. I wish you all the best and all the success. It's a complex issue. Being a Londoner today is a complex issue. I mean, Ken even had to find his way how to get here on time. He couldn't do it. And all of us have our own problems. May Allah make it easy for us all, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, Yusuf Islam. Allow me next to introduce one of the energetic and invigorating individuals who is behind the production of what you have today. Allow me to introduce to you someone who thought of the colors, the features, the traits that should adorn Islam Expo. Please welcome Sumaya Ghanouchi from the Islam Expo team.
Thank you, Anas. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Amidst the current climate of tension, full of talk of clashes of cultures and civilizations, the idea for Islam Expo was born to affirm our belief in the principle of kinship and continuity between cultures and civilizations. Islam Expo is our alternative to the dangerous theory of clashes of cultures and civilizations. Civilizations and cultures, we believe, are not islands that swim in isolation from each other. Civilizations form part of the same human family. They inherit each other. Every culture, every civilization, every idea, every moment is born in the womb of another. That is the wonder of this thing called history. Few remember Muslim civilization's great contributions to every field of knowledge and every sphere of life. Islam Expo was born at a time when Muslim culture and Muslim civilization find themselves victims of much injustice, dismissed as fertile generators of extremism, violence, fanaticism, and intolerance. If you remember the great cities of Damascus, Baghdad, Cordoba, where the world, our world, knew its first streetlights, its first sewage system, its first libraries, great libraries, its first great hospitals, its first windmills, its first universities, and its first encounter with religious freedom, religious tolerance, and pluralism. We are the heirs of Muslim civilization, just as it had inherited the great learning and wisdom of antiquity. Our world without it, our modern world without it, would have been impossible. We think that it is inaccurate to refer to Western civilization, to modern Western civilization, as Judeo-Christian. It is Judeo-Christian Islamic. Islam yesterday was part of Europe's past. Today it is part of its present, and tomorrow it will be part of its future. We often describe our society as being ethnically, religiously, and culturally diverse. But this diversity must not be merely skin deep. It mustn't be a diversity of ghettos, with communities living side by side, but knowing nothing much about each other, apart from, stale cliches and wild stereotypes. We must make an effort not only to live side by side, but to live together, to open up, reach out to the perceived other, to explore new possibilities, new ways of seeing the world, new ways of life, to broaden our horizons and to enrich our lives. In the Quran we read, "O mankind, we have created you from a single pair of male and female and made you into nations and tribes that you may know one another." We at Islam Expo derive our inspiration from this great Quranic verse which laid down the basis of human relations as being one of ta'aruf, one of mutual understanding. The effort to understand and make yourself understood in a world marked by difference is the purpose of creation. It is what makes life meaningful, worth living. That this event begins on the eve of the anniversary of the tragic bombings of July 7th is a pertinent reminder of the need to revive, to give credit to these principles, the principles of peaceful exchange and peaceful coexistence. Our hope at Islam Expo is that we will make a serious contribution to this process of engaging, of exchange. Our hope is that this project will bring us one step closer to embodying the great ideals of openness, diversity, mutual recognition, and mutual respect. We have worked tirelessly to make this event an unforgettable experience. We hope that we have succeeded in giving you just a small glimpse of the Muslim world, of its vastness, its diversity, its richness, its depth, through art, photography, theatre, comedy, seminars, live shows, films, and what I'm sure will be lively and heated debates. I hope, and we hope at Islam Expo, that you will be entertained, informed, and inspired. Until we see you again next year, I hope, we bid you peace. Thank you.
Just before we end, I'd like to make 3 announcements. Firstly, in around 20 minutes' time, in Seminar 1, which is just across the hall, there will be a plenary on the origins of terrorism, religious or political, in which Jonathan Friedland built up, and I'm not sure whether Alice Crook will be with us, but it will be a esteemed panel anyway. And then please make your way back here at 7, because we will have the first of Islam Expo's 2 concerts, and tonight's concert will present to you the most famous nasheed or Muslim song group in the world, all the way from Malaysia, Rehan, as well as the Turkish Whirling Dervishes, which I'm sure we will all be mesmerized by. And tomorrow, I also invite you in the Lawnsbury room just across the hall in the reception at 4:30 to the launch of the Cordoba Foundation. And we will have a number of esteemed guests, including my friend and my brother, Professor Norman Kember, who was the British hostage amongst the Christian peacemakers in Iraq recently.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, this is a true celebration of togetherness. This is a celebration of cultures, of diversity. Let us all celebrate together. When you see each other outside in the halls, in the rooms, greet each other with Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Tinggal di sini.
Can you see this stage, yeah?
This is the same thing, I don't follow the
What do you think about what that's essentially saying?